The picture was released in Australia and was successful and ready to go overseas and got interest into Cannes. And I thought, here's the chance to get this material out. And the investors didn't want to do it. It was all good-natured, but they said, you want to cut a hit? Don't touch anything. The whole thing might come undone. And I said, no, believe me, it won't. It'll only make it better. No, Peter, go away. You're too much of a perfectionist. So I got my revenge decades later with the director's cut.
He did something which Peter is, of course, well known for. He did something that nobody was expecting and took stuff out rather than put stuff back in.
I found the director's cut was a bit odd after so many years because the first one was a director's cut. Peter did exactly as he pleased. So presumably it's not the film that needed changing, it was Peter had evolved. And I'm not sure whether you should do that or not. Sometimes it's best to say, well, back then I did this for this reason. I wouldn't do it this way now.
I think when you put something out into the world and somebody buys it or watches it or listens to it or whatever, it becomes theirs. And particularly when a long, long time has passed, and that's happened over and over and over again. Somebody might have watched that film, particularly if they loved it, you know, hundreds of times. And every scene or moment, they have a response too. And in a funny kind of way, it wasn't his anymore to fiddle about with, and certainly not to take things away from people.
The largest single deletion was really the subplot of Irma and Michael after he had found her at the rock. I love the haunting scenes where he sees her through the gauze lying there like some sort of sleeping beauty, and you feel all kinds of emotions as you watch this silent scene. And they're not contacting and not connecting, I knew was the most successful part of the scene. Then we see them get together, and these are the deleted scenes, which went on for quite a while. And they talk rather awkwardly. They go boating.
The summer will soon be over.
Just as well, probably. I don't think this punt will be safe enough to take out again.
It's sad, really. Like someone dying.
Then there was potentially an interesting moment where he says, what happened on the rock?
Irma. What happened on the rock?
And she won't answer him. And she goes running off in the evening light.
Irma! Irma!
One of the special moments that I used to love has gone. I loved Irma's run along the shore of that lake. It used to be, for me, a very releasing moment, and I needed it, and it's not there anymore.
I felt all those years ago in 1975, as having seen it in the theatre and more confident about it, that what I'd suspected was a kind of slow patch for the worst reason, that it was in a film in which everything has been hinted at, or a lot of it hinted and implied and suggested. This was obvious and not very satisfying.
It depends on the mood you're in. You could say the original version was pretty slow, but it was slow in a way that we liked.
I've spoken to a lot of people who are bitterly upset by, you know, the loss of certain moments. The scene where the girls sing Rock of Ages in the chapel, and Ingrid, in fact, cries at the end of the hymn. I think some people needed that, you know, some people wanted that as part of their release of all that kind of turgid building up of stuff, and then they finally get to let down a little in that moment, and that's not there. And in fact, he seems to have taken out 2 moments of release, which perhaps has a purpose, I don't know, but I just don't know whether it was really up to him anymore. You know, it didn't really belong to him anymore.
I think the film works so well and is so rounded that those moments, for me, were not missed.
Because that last third has now got no extraneous themes in it, and it just goes straight from the time you find Irma on that rock, it just goes wham to that terrible woman at the end sitting there, that black, dark woman. And I, for the first time, cried when I saw it, because it to me became very sad.
I do think there's more emotion, and that Margaret Nelson's character, and I think even the misconnection between she and her brother with Albert.
Bertie. Jesus, where are you?
Which was more obscure in the original cut, came through more strongly.
Calls out, Sarah, don't go yet. Goodbye, Bertie, she says. I've come a long way to see you, and now I must go. She went.
The tragedy is increased in this cut, and it's the way it should have been and the way I wanted it. So I do think it's wrong for a director to second guess themselves in director's cuts. It's not fair to those who like the picture as it was. But in this case, that's the way I wanted it. It truly is a director's cut.